Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Career Tip Tuesday. And you all know the drill. When you come in, please let us know where you are tuning in from. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into today's conversation. Makita is actually on her way to Afrotech, so she probably will pop in while she's traveling. Hopefully, she can join me for this conversation. If not, you got me solo today, so it's just me. All right, so we're going to be talking today about build career security and not just job security. For those of you who watch me quite often or really watch or listen to Career Tip Tuesday, we talk a lot about how you need to make sure that you are focusing on building a name for yourself in your career industry and not just on the job. The reason why it's important to focus on that is specifically because your job can fold at any time, but you're still going to have your overall experience that you can utilize in your career. And so that's why it's important to focus specifically on making sure that you are making a name for yourself in your industry and not just on the job. So I'm going to give you some tips, as we always do, when we talk about this. And I've got something we're going to do different this time that we've never done before. So we're going to see if it's going to work with you all. Hey, Nadia, hello from Philadelphia. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Yep. So for those of you who are just now tuning in, I want to let you know today's topic is building career security and not just job security. I think sometimes we take so much time to focus specifically on the job that we have that we don't think about the broader picture of focusing on the career that we are cultivating. And that's what today's conversation is going to be all about. So you know the drill. Let us know where you're calling from, where you're watching from. Also, too, please ask questions. So the first one is you want to invest in transferable skills. We always hear people talk about investing in your professional development and your growth, but what are you doing to really cultivate those strengths that you have and not focus on the weaknesses? We know a lot of times if you do not have a good leader who doesn't focus on your strengths and they want you to try to work on focusing on your weaknesses, it doesn't work, because we can only manage weaknesses, we can't master them. So invest in transferable skills about who you are, what you bring to the table, what are your strengths, what is your superpower, what do you know that you do well that no one else does well where you are, and how can that be a super strength or a superpower for you in your career industry? How can you become known for that one thing you do very well? Or how can that be impactful to another organization if for any reason you get laid off or you decide to leave and make a transition or to another company? How does all of that specifically really honestly play out? So you think about investing in transferable skills. It's like a communication, it's like a project management. Think about project management and really taking that your transferable skills and marketing them to another level. So skills like communication, data fluency, maybe you have leadership abilities. Those things can travel with you wherever you go, from job to job or from industry to industry. So think about what those skills are that you know that you can take from job to job or from industry to industry. And maybe one suggestion I can give you is take one online course or a workshop per quarter, something that's going to sharpen your skill sets, sharpen the strengths that you have, or really something that can maybe help you take a strength and cultivate it and nurture it and turn it into a superpower. So maybe that's the best way to say that, is think about where you can cultivate that and turn it into a superpower. So think about what that is. The next one that we want to talk about is nurturing your network before you need it. And I think because some people are so anti-networking or don't really know what to do, or they get nervous because they may not have those social skills, they may not necessarily think about what they need to do to nurture their network. So career moves are often made through relationships, not resumes. Okay. So when you start thinking about looking for that next career opportunity, you definitely need to think about how are you cultivating your network and building those relationships within your network. So here's one thing you can do: set a relationship rhythm, reconnect. And what that means is go back through the people that you've met, whether it's been an event you went to last year, holiday party, happy hour, and reconnect with one or two of those contacts and do it per week. It can be on LinkedIn, it could be email, it could be a coffee chat in person, just a quick catch up, right? You don't have to go out of your way and say, unless you want to, meet me for coffee, but you can say, hey, you got a couple minutes via LinkedIn to connect, or even on a Zoom call for like 10, 15 minutes just to reconnect. Because it doesn't take a lot of effort to just jump on a Zoom call. So again, thinking about reconnecting with those individuals, and this is just for your own industry connection, okay? We are working in a time right now of uncertainty for all roles. So I think it's important to think about how are we making sure that we are enriching our network. How are we making sure that we are thinking specifically around cultivating genuine relationships and what those look like, and understanding the power and the what is the word I'm looking for? The currency of having a robust network and why that really is important. Okay. And so, again, career moves are often made through relationships, not resumes now. So, it's so true now about who you know. It really is so true now about who do you know that's going to get you that job quicker, faster, that next opportunity, whatever that looks like. So thinking about it from that perspective is important. Hi, Felice. Hi, Heather. So I think it's important to think about it from that perspective. The next one is document your wins religiously. Consistently. If you do not have a book of some kind to where you can document all of your wins, I'm just bringing up one of my little BCWN books here, a little book to document your wins. You need something you can start keeping all of your wins. And I think we talk about this a lot. In BCWN, but you think about documenting your wins, keep a book, all right? A brag book, a power book, whatever you want to call it book, but to track your successes, any metrics that you've completed, any praise, key contributions, projects, everything, because you don't just want them for your review to talk about, salary negotiation. You want to build your resume and also build your confidence, because now you're really keeping track and staying focused on what you're achieving. So when it is time to negotiate, if it is time to pitch for more money, or even pivot to a new role, you're looking at everything you've accomplished and you're able to speak to it, not just being able to craft it on your resume or display it on LinkedIn, but you're able to even be in the interview process and talk to it fluidly and explain how you were able to accomplish those goals and how you did it, why you did it, and what was the outcomes from that. So I think it's important to think about it from that perspective as well. The next thing I want to talk about, hi, Trina from San Francisco. Oh, y'all was coming in. I love it. She says, yes, go Birds. Yes. Oh, yeah. I know Philly's in the house for sure. I love Philly. And so let's go back to the next one, which is building a personal brand, not just a job title. Okay. So I think, some of us have gotten really savvy at this. I think a lot of us now are really starting to understand what building a brand means. It doesn't mean you have to go out and reinvent yourself, but it does need to be, let me showcase what I do. When we're going back to the one we just talked about the brag book and tracking everything you accomplish and achieve within your book, this is what we're talking about, because now you can craft a personal brand on pretty much what you have been able to accomplish, right? The main thing you think about building your brand is, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to know you for? Not just where you work, but what do you want people to know you for? And again, the job title and the company you work for is just an extension of a broader thing, of which is your career, right? So even though certain companies may make you more attractive to different employers if they want to recruit, at the end of the day, this is about your marketability, your value, what you want to be known for. So, thinking about when you are on LinkedIn or when you are sharing anything on social media, share your thought leadership, or share your knowledge and expertise, your career insights on what you know in your industry, trends within your industry that you know are valuable, that can help to move the needle, progress within not just your career, but in the industry overall. Share those things on LinkedIn or in specific communities. Okay. Visibility equals opportunity, but visibility also equals showing you as an expert in your industry. So it's important, hugely important, that you think about that. Here's a simple way to start doing it. Is when you're following individuals on LinkedIn and they're in your industry, right? just comment on an article or even share an article and then just maybe give your 2 cents on how you felt about that topic in the article. And then ask people to chime in on your thread, right? So there's just different ways that you can do that without feeling like you have to create content or become this content creator. You can also comment on other people's blog articles, or comment on other people's comments and give, share insider advice or agree with them. So again, it's really about you just cultivating that relationship from a virtual standpoint. And I shouldn't say cultivate a relationship, but really foster engagement is probably really the best way to say that, because what you're doing is you are communicating and you are talking and sharing, which that's community, right? And so just think about it from that perspective, that you're sharing your thoughts, your expertise, and your knowledge base, and sharing your opinions on specific blog articles or posts and things like that. And I think that's hugely important to do. Now, number 5, which we're going to jump right into, which is stay ready financially. And why this is critical is because when we think about, the times that we're in now, career freedom often hinges on financial readiness. So how prepared are you to make a move, right? So we got this thing at BCW, and I always say, if you have to say, oh, hell no, are you ready to make a move if you get to the point where you got to say, oh, hell no? So it's almost like you want to build an FU fund, right? Build an FU fund. That's the savings you need. So that way you'll have the power to walk away from something that's toxic or something that's unstable. So for some people, I know that may be hard to do. For others, it may be easy to do. But think about, are you financially ready to make a move if it gets to a place where you're burnt out, or you're just ready to make a change, or it is a oh hell no situation. Do you have the oh hell no fund if you need to walk away from something that's toxic or is very unstable in the organization, or even maybe your role is at risk, not because of your performance, but just the company overall is maybe moving and shifting in a different way, and so they may no longer need the role that you have. So just thinking about how staying financially ready in that instance. Hugely important when we think about that, because if you're not thinking specifically around that, it can get tough, because that's where we have to be like, oh God, I need this job, I got bills to pay. And we know life be lifing, right? Like Taraji say, we know life be lifing, but at the same time, you want to ensure that you are in a decent place at least, because we don't want you to continue to be in a toxic environment if you know that it's going to impede on your health. Because anything that impedes on your health is going to impede on your ability to perform well, or keep you focused on what you need to perform on. So I think that's part of it. And you better than anybody what your tolerance level is, what your threshold is, what your triggers are, and all of those things. But staying ready financially is something you definitely absolutely need to consider when you're talking about building career security and not job security. And 2, here's the thing, and I say this all the time, so anyone of you who have followed for a long time or a part of the BCW community, for absolutely one thing, and one thing's for sure, is that I always say is that you need to build a career. When you build your career, you want to stay marketable, and you want to make sure that you're marketable and that you have income, that you can have the ability to increase your income potential. Being able to have transferable skills and build your network and document your wins and build a personal brand, those things can keep you marketable, which can also increase your income potential and increase your opportunities. So all these things kind of line up together when you think about that. And then the last one is thinking of terms of positioning, not just promotion. I am a big believer of positioning, right? Positioning over promotion, or making sure that the promotion that you are accepting is positioning you in the right way. Okay. Lateral moves are great because they can sometimes, depending on where you are and what you're doing, can also offer benefits. But just make sure that whatever you decide to do, that it is positioning you for where you envision yourself and positioning you for where you're not getting stuck. Because sometimes we can't accept things or specific roles where we have nowhere else to go. And we're not talking about career trajectories in terms of internal movement in an organization, but we may accept the role that, gosh, it really, regardless of where I go, there really isn't a clear career path for this particular job title. So I think it's important to think about what that looks like when you start talking about, positioning yourself and not just promotion. And here's the thing too, don't just chase the titles. Don't do that. Okay. Because if you're chasing titles, you're going to be in this black hole of nowhere. What you do is you chase strategic roles that are going to be strategic and positioning you in specific ways. And what that means is it going to offer you, will you be able to get positioning? Positioning. Will you be able to get exposure in that role? Are you going to be able to get stretch assignments, things that are going to stretch your ability to learn more, be more, do more, that can elevate you and make you, again, more marketable, also help with increase your income potential. And that's going to elevate your reputation. Okay. Is the positioning of this promotion or the positioning of this next role, is it going to position you to elevate your reputation? I have this philosophy. I don't want to say much about giving it away, but I have this big thing about power and positioning and influence, and how all of those things tie in together, and how we as Black women need to be more smarter and strategic about how we position ourselves when we are in specific roles in these organizations, and how power and influence also impact that. And so I think that that's something we just don't think enough about when we are, thinking about these promotions. We look at, yep, I got the title, I've got the money, but we're not thinking about, is this title positioning me right? Is it giving me the power and influence I need to grow, to elevate, to going back to, what I said in reference to making sure that it's elevating your reputation, because that's important too. So those things are critical. So when you're thinking about positioning and not just promotion, does the opportunity position you for where you want to go next? Not where, so just don't think promotion in the title and in the money. Think about positioning and the elevation of your reputation. Is it stretching you? Is this positioning you for strategic, alliances, and the exposure and the visibility? Those are the things that we definitely need to absolutely be thinking about when we take a think about these roles. So I think that's important. All right, we got 10 minutes left, and I want to try something new on our Career Tip Tuesday. We've never done this before, so in order for this to work, it's going to need all of your participation, okay, for this to work. And I want to know what you think about it, if we should continue to do something like this from time to time too. So I want to share a quick and brief case study. All right. So I just gave you some tips, right? And we'll go back, we'll do a rundown of those, but I want to see how much you learned and how much, if you're paying attention. Okay. So here we got Tasha. Tasha is a quiet strategist, okay? Tasha's been in her company for 7 years. She's been known to be dependable, but not necessarily visible. When her department faced an unexpected layoff where her role was cut. She's been dependable, but not necessarily visible. Her department faced unexpected layoffs. Her role was cut. All right. So let's talk about this. Okay. Let's talk about it. All right. So this is where it gets powerful when we think about this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. So when Tasha got laid off, or when her role, what should I say, when her role was cut, Tasha wasn't shaken. Okay. But why was Tasha not shaken? Who wants to kind of help me with this real quick? Okay. Why was Tasha not shaken? If you think about these 6 tips I just gave, when we're talking about building your career, and not just on the job, right? Why was Tasha not shaken? Does anybody want to just type in the comments and say why? Okay. I'll go ahead and start for the sake of time. Okay. She quietly had been building her career with security. Okay. So here's some of the reason why she wasn't shaken. Now, 7 years is a long time to be at a job, right? She was known to be dependable, but she wasn't doing the things necessary to be visible. But the reason why she wasn't shaking is because even though she wasn't visible, she still was doing things in the back to really help position her career and not just the job itself. And this is what I like about this case study is even though we may not do things to really help to secure that in the role that we're in currently, Tasha probably was like, you know what? I'm done here. I'm going to do what I do, but I'm going to build on the back end, and then I'm going to go somewhere else. Okay. So what Heather said, she had saved, she was strategic in her networking. I like that. And that was part of it, right? Part of that was she was strategic in her networking. Couple of things that Tasha did. I'm going to put this back up here so people can read it. A couple of things Tasha did. Okay. The reason why she wasn't shaken when her role was cut. The first thing was she had been building her career on the back end for the long game, not just for the job she was in now. Okay. Which means she was taking courses for her role, and the role that she did was data analyst and storytelling. Okay. The next thing she did was she kept a brag book of the things that she had accomplished while she was in this role. She also nurtured relationships on LinkedIn, and she also was part of her employee resource group. And so she was making connections outside of just, internally, but also making them externally. And she was also engaging on posts and industry trends and things like that within her industry to keep visible. So once her role was cut, she was laid off. Tasha landed another role, I think like 6 or 7 weeks later, specifically because she was focusing on building a career outside of her job and was making connections, and people were remembering her for her expertise and knowledge she was sharing in these spaces. So even though she wasn't necessarily visible on the job in the way that people would want, she was visible in her career. Okay. So, when I think about how that looks, here's the most important thing to think about when you talk about Tasha. Tasha didn't work hard. She worked strategic. Okay. She didn't wait for the title to validate her. She built a brand behind the scenes. So when she got laid off, it didn't matter because she was building something bigger than just the company she had been working for 7 years. So I hope that makes a little sense. Yes, Carolina, absolutely. She had transferable skills and she was working it, right? Which means that she was building her personal brand behind the scenes to make sure that she was visible in her industry and not just on the job. Now, granted, she probably could have made sure she was intentional about creating some visibility, within her internal network on the job. And then maybe they would have saw her differently. But at the end of the day, if she was performing well, why not still see her as a high valued employee? Right? Maybe she didn't need to have that. Yep. Andrew said, Handy saying, yep, visibility in the career genius. Absolutely. So what she was doing was, even though she worked there for 7 years, she was dependable, but she wasn't visible. What she was doing was focusing her energy on being visible in her career versus being visible on the job. Now, if you know that you're in a company where you want to go, that you want to have a clear career path or trajectory up, then yeah, you do need to be strategic about making sure you have some internal visibility on the job if you want your next level role to come from within that company. But if you're like, you know what, it doesn't matter, I've been here 7 years, this is good, but I want to be able to move on. So cultivating and nurturing her career outside of that job so she can elevate. It only took her 6 weeks, 7 weeks to find another job, because she already had been cultivating her visibility in her career overall and not just on that job. That's why it's smart not to just put it all in one basket on the job, because if you lose that job and then you start trying to network and get another job, they're like, well, who are you? What are you doing? Where? No, let people know what you do. Let people know that you have subject matter expertise in that industry. That's important to do, okay? This is not just about, because you can give it all to that one job. And like you said, they drop it and you're gone, and it's not that you're starting from scratch. But what you do have to do is, because, if you don't have a robust network or people don't know what you do in your industry, it's a little harder if you don't have anybody who you know. I like what Andrea said. This has been great. Have to drop it. Oh, you're welcome, Andrea. No problem. So yeah, I think it's important to understand specifically that, again, just don't make a name for yourself on the job, make a name for yourself in your industry. And that really is what today's topic is all about is building it's you want to build your personal brand, but you want to build career security and not job security. Well, then career security is working outside of that one job to make sure you have a personal brand and that you're being known in that industry. So when people drop your name, oh yeah, I know who that is. She's looking for a role. Oh, I can refer her over here. And I know some of you think, oh, but it works. Okay. So just think about that you should be always building up your career and not just on the job. Don't, and I'm not saying you can't give your job everything, but just be mindful of that. That's just one job of a history, a broader picture of a career that you are cultivating over the years. So, you want to give your career your all, not just thinking about giving that company your all, because we already know this, that a lot of times these companies don't have that loyalty and you have that loyalty to a career you're building. Be loyal to yourself and be loyal to making sure that you are securing that career by making a name for yourself and what you want to be known for. So I can't stress enough how important that is. All right, got 1 minute left. I want to recap the 6 tips from building career security, not just job security. The first one is invest in transferable skills, nurture your network before you need it, document your wins religiously, make sure people know about them, build a personal brand, not just a job title. Okay, what do you want to be known for? Stay ready financially and think in terms of positioning and not promotion. Well, we talked about that a lot, so that's gold right there. You want to make sure that what any job you accept is positioning you, and think about power and positioning, because you as a sister, you want some power too. You want to be able to have power and influence and not just be someone who's on that job. And then the last one here is career security isn't built in chaos. Okay, it's built in clarity. You focus on the skills, you focus on your strategy, the relationships that you want to cultivate, because they outlive any job title you may have. If you are making a name for yourself in your industry and you've got a good, strong reputation, you want your value to be tied to what you do, not be tied to just the company that you work for. I can't say enough about that. Okay, I mean, think about that. If you don't get anything else from today's Career Tip Tuesday, the main thing I want you to, let me put this back up here. Okay. If you don't get nothing from today's Career Tip Tuesday, what you want to understand is that, the strategy, the skills that you have, the relationships that you build outlive any job title you may carry. Okay. And your value should never be tied to just one specific company. Okay. I know companies out here now who they have these kind of cultures where people are like, I'm here for life. Yeah, that might be good. But then when you leave, what are you taking with you? You can't take that same culture and assimilate it somewhere else. So what are you doing to build a personal brand of your own outside of working for that company? Yes, working for some companies are attractive to certain organizations where they like to recruit people from certain companies. But again, where is the individual identity of how you want to be known for what you want to? So again, that's what I want to share with you all today. I hope this was helpful for you all. And for all of you who did join us today, I want to have you all, if you could, go to and download our new redesigned mobile app and take a sneak peek of our new redesign and let us know what you think. You can go to Apple or Google Play Store and download it. I would love to get your feedback. Boom, let me know what you think. And for those of you who also are first time new to watching, some of you have probably watched every other Tuesday with us because we're on every other Tuesday. I also want to share with you all, I'm going to put this in a LinkedIn conversation right now before we hop off and go. It is our power guide called the six power moves every Black woman should know. And I'm going to add this to the comment section right now of our conversation. And that way you all can download that and get you and really learn what the 6 power moves are and just be a part of our community. All right, I'm going to drop it in the chat box. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. If not, download it. And again, thank you for being on our Career Tip Tuesday this week. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody. You're welcome, Audrey.